Is a small town, only 100,000 people. Those 100,000 people may be different in many ways, but there's one thing that brings them all together: the Green Bay Packers. In Titletown, the blue-collar city only knows hard work, tailgating, championships, but more importantly, they know family.
We have a saying in this town: faith, family, and the Green Bay Packers are all that you need. Sanjay and I grew up in Green Bay. You could say that we are Green Bay, or even better, the voices of Green Bay. We bring a local feel of Packer fandom to a worldwide audience.
Friendship, family, and football.
Ladies and gentlemen,
This is the Freezer Podcast. What is up? We are back. This is the Freezer Podcast, where we bring you a local view of Packer fandom to a worldwide audience. I am Sanjay, and alongside me, like always, is Fred and Matt. And we are live in our home studios, brought to you by Game On Wisconsin. And we're 1-0, folks. 1-0 under the new Jordan Love era. And I guess maybe we could just say the Sean Clifford era, because I think he really just took the wind under his hands. But it's really cool to see Packer football again. And I will tell you guys right now, a breath of fresh air watching this different type of team. I get it. It's preseason. It's second string. It's a lot of backups, but they're definitely, it's a very early feeling of something different, and something that's a very good different that we probably haven't seen in a while. But of course, everybody's going to, talk about Jordan Love and his, snaps and his throws and his missed throws. We'll get into that in a little bit, but your guys' first initial thoughts, just overall of the game itself that we've seen from Matt LaFleur, the fact that this is something uncharted territory, I guess you could say.
honestly, it felt like it was the most, maybe, dare I say it, the most entertaining preseason game we've had maybe in the last half a decade or a decade. I mean, not because there was like a bunch of electric plays, but it just felt like an actual game was being played. Normally when the Packers play in preseason, it's incredibly dry. Like half the team's not even in a uniform.
Yeah, like 75% of our starters are like 2-year players.
Everybody on the field is going to be cut. They're going to be cut. It's just irrelevant. But this was totally different. You had some guys out there making plays. It honestly looks like a very hungry team. And they looked like they had a lot of juice, a lot of liveliness to them. They looked like they were ready to play that game after a week or a couple days practicing against the Bengals. So, like you mentioned, Sanjay, it just feels different. Feels like it's a different kind of team, different kind of vibe around them. But it was fun to see that manifested on the field and see them having fun and scoring some points. Like, it was a very entertaining game, and it makes me more excited for the rest of the preseason if they're going to be like that.
Yeah, man. I think that you summed it up, right? I think we're all a little hyped, a little excited. Temper expectations. It's still preseason. Let's hold off on getting a little too excited. But that being said, man, just fun. Like, it was just
fun.
interesting. It was like, you were watching guys not with the intention of like, could he be the third corner or the third guard or the fourth or fifth receiver? I mean, you get to watch everybody, and that was a refreshing feel to the whole game. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot we're going to dive into, and I feel like there's a couple guys that really kind of stood out, a couple guys that didn't. And I think one of the most important things that I'd like to get into, and I think we'll talk about, is just kind of a glimpse, if you will, into what LaFleur's offense could look like. And I think there's something to be excited about with that.
Yeah, just real quick, I think the numbers maybe you guys can back me up on this, but last year, dudes that sat out the first game was like 30, 35. Yeah. And this time was 9. So you definitely saw a way different product than in preseason game 1. Yeah.
And I think it's by nature, knowing that these guys just don't have enough snaps, like a lot of these guys are going to be stepping into starting roles, or are just, in year 2 of their starting, role. They still need these times. And obviously now that Jordan Love is at the helm now, everybody needs to play with him, because they just need to know what he needs, what he likes. How does he, zip the ball? How does he like, the routes, all that kind of comes in play in live snaps. Live action. So let's get into injuries real quick first, because that's obviously, you would try to avoid the injury bug as much as possible in these 3 games, because this is usually where we're kind of holding our breath, especially with starters being in there. But unfortunately, and maybe not so unfortunately for Josiah DeGuara, is Tyler Davis being out with an ACL injury. You hate to see it for the guy because you never want an injury regardless. I know we have our comments about Tyler Davis and what he really is on this roster, but from what I had heard, he was actually one of our better run blocker and pass blockers that we've had on the what role pick. Oh God,
he cleaned it. He
Come
cleaned
on,
up the
Ty.
blankets, and now it's
Time.
when you eat dinner down here, you sometimes
Yeah.
Okay, well, you know what? Go ahead. We'll call it the paper towel.
Listen, hey, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, baby. It's just
That's
kinda,
right.
I got blankets that are folded here.
They're
Look at
folded.
that.
He did his laundry. It's good. We're
Yeah,
good.
we're good. Maybe I'll just keep it there. There we go. We'll just keep the paper towel still.
unbelievable.
Anyway, so
Oh man.
I do think this is it's definitely an injury always hurts your team, because now that's one guy that you don't have on your roster that you can keep looking at to see if he's truly part of this, 52-man roster down the road. Is he going to be a key part of your offense? He's been in the depth chart as far as a tight end the longest, so he has experience, and he has he knows the system longer than all these other guys that are in the room. So he does bring some sort of use and value. So it does hurt to see him obviously gone, but Caleb Jones also had an ankle injury late in the game. And I was kind of curious to know what the situation was at Aaron Jones, because he ran one play and then he never came back again. And it almost looked like he kind of like rolled up kind of weird when he got up after that out route for him. And then it was like, all right, that was good. We've seen enough of Aaron Jones. So I don't know. I mean, he practiced, so clearly it's not.
Isn't that kind of like par for course though, right? I mean, we talk about that throughout the year all the time. Aaron Jones's, durability.
Right. Yeah.
And that's I think that's just one of those things. It's a give and take type situation with him, right? I mean, he's so electric, so pivotal, so able to maneuver in ways that are just unbelievable. We've seen cuts from him that have absolutely jaw dropped situations. But on the downside of that, he's little and he gets smacked around, and he's fearless and he's tough, and I respect the crap out of that. But when you're going against guys that are twice your size, you're gonna get banged up a little bit. So we have to be a little safe with that. As far as the Tyler Davis thing, I think you nailed it in the sense that he is the most tenured tight end that we have on this team,
Yeah.
and that's a pretty big deal.
Bring
and
back
I think,
Big Dog.
Yeah, I think it's important in the sense of just leadership, right? An opportunity to kind of help these young guys get through it. I would also like to stress that, it would be appreciative if you would keep Josiah's name out of your mouth, because he's a fullback now.
He's a fullback. Fullback.
Is he classified as fullback yet? Is he actually?
He is. It's on the depth
If
chart.
I see him on Madden come next week and he's as tight end.
Well, he's considered a fullback, so why don't you fall back and shut up, because he's not a tight end, okay?
Depth chart says so. I saw it myself.
Hey, depth chart.
Well, then he somehow made it on a position change.
You know who's not on the depth chart? You, Sanjay. That's
clearly.
Yeah, I think the big loss of Tyler Davis is going to be felt on special teams, maybe not so much on the offensive side. I believe I read it, and he was either the leader in special team snaps or one of. So, as pointed on here by True North, that's a lot of snaps lost, and on a special teams, it's been pretty garbage in recent years. You kind of need the guys that actually show up and play well. Exactly. So curious to see how Bisaccia replaces them, but if anybody can kind of squeeze a little bit extra out of somebody, it might be Rich Bisaccia. So we'll be in good hands.
Yeah, I do think with injuries, it's probably going to happen. If it's not going to be in preseason, it'll definitely happen during the regular season. Someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to have to step up. If this is not a sign for the rookies for tight end, I mean, I don't know what is, because now this is their show.
Room.
This is their room. They can take whatever they can. They were out there a lot, so I think they do see this as a good focal point of the offense. I know like that 12 personnel involves 2 tight ends, and these are your guys for the long haul. And I think we've seen some really good stuff. Especially we saw the speed of Musgrave, and then with Tucker Kraft, I think there was a couple, missed opportunities with him on some shots, but I do think he moves pretty well. We've seen it in practice, and we've been hearing it from the beat. But I think with this tight end room, it's going to be a very slow process. I'm sure there's going to be some growing pains. There's going to be some pretty big drops. Maybe there's going to be some pretty awesome catches. But it's going to be a well-oiled machine, maybe down the road, at least in the next couple of years, because they're pretty young.
I like that the Packers aren't panicking and they're sticking to their course here with the tight ends. Like they're like, no, we drafted these two guys. We believe in them. Yeah, we're going to go through some bumps in the road, but we believe ultimately that these two dudes on the line are going to be, 1A and 1B for us. So I'm happy that they're not just immediately trying to find some veteran to plug in there, and they're just going to say, well, we're going with this, and this is what's going to be.
Speaking, that's a really good transition, because I know I didn't want to talk about this right away because there was other stuff, but because they're sticking to their bones, do you think they need to stick with their bones with Anders Carlson? Because this is definitely an issue with the miss extra points, because the guy's got a leg. I mean, that's not the issue. He's got the kicking power. It's the accuracy that scares us the most. But you can't just give up on a kid, willy-nilly like that. But what are your thoughts on that?
I think you got to give him a run, right? You got to give him give him the rest of the preseason, the rest of camp, and then I would give him even a game or two, right? And then put him in a couple situations. I don't think he has a long leash though, right? I mean, this is a short leash, and when we think of the NFL, I absolutely so. I think when you're talking about let's talk about the Packers, right? Other teams, sure. We're talking about a team that doesn't get rid of their coaches, doesn't get rid of their players, unless it's like a burning fire situation.
But his brother is like the poster child of what not to give up on. The Vikings gave up on him on one game, and then look at him now. He's like an all-pro kicker.
But that's my point. That's why you give him preseason. You give him a couple games, and if it's a consistently bad situation, like if he does not finish the preseason very good, but they still give him a couple regular season games, and those look bad, you just can't. All right. I think with the Vikings pulled the trigger immediately, and I don't think they had enough to really do so. I think they got butt hurt by a couple of missed kicks that cost a game, and they just made the call, because let's be realistic, Minnesota had gone through decades really of crappy kickers, and they're just so frustrated with it. I think we've kind of solidified some grace, if you will, for kickers in the sense of let's give them some time. We're not going to have fans showing up with, pitchforks saying, we haven't had a kicker in years. What's going on? Why can't you make the right, like it's one guy. I think he has a little bit of opportunity to make those mistakes early, but I don't think it's going to last if it continues.
But he's a draft pick though. I mean, we've seen the Packers not give up on their draft picks for long. For sure. I mean, look at the receivers, look at basically anybody they've drafted. They're like, look, this is our guy. We believe it a lot. And I mean, I really haven't seen them just cut ties with the guy unless they were like just bad apples. But
if it's the singular thing you do,
right?
Right.
Sure.
If it's a receiver and it's like, well, he blocks good, he runs good routes, but he just has some drop issues, Davante Adams, we can work on that. A kicker, it's like, if you can't kick it between the posts.
But that's what the receiver does though. But he is supposed to catch it. So we gave him
but a wide receiver has to catch it, run routes, block.
Well,
know the playbook. A kicker literally just
isn't catching the most important part though.
Sure. But
what does a kicker need to do? They just need to kick field goals.
It's the most important part, but what are the other parts of a kicker? None. There's
kickoffs.
Part.
Okay.
Kickoffs, onside.
Which he's actually pretty good at kickoffs.
I feel like there's a couple ways to look at this. I genuinely agree that the Packers need to have some type of patience with him and just can't pull the ripcord if week 1 or 2 he blows up. I do think you got to give him a little bit of a leash. And this year is the perfect year to do it. We don't really have like big expectations. Not to say the Packers aren't interested in winning. Of course, they're going to try to go out and win games and make the playoffs. But if you're ever going to experiment and maybe give a guy a little bit longer of a leash than you normally would have, this might be the year that they do it. Just to try to
agree with that.
Just to get that next lengthy kicker here. But if he's not, if it's week 7 or 8 and he's blowing them left and right, I think then at that point,
but that's what I'm trying to say though.
If you're losing games and shit,
what's the leash limit?
I'm giving him the full year because now you can go into next year. Yes, no matter what, regardless. We just saw it with Mason Crosby, right? We know that he was a reliable kicker, but then he had one of the worst years of his entire career. Yet we stuck by him. Now I know we don't have a lot of track record on this kid, but that's what I'm trying to say is that we don't have a track record on him. So why are you not giving him the year when you don't have a lot of expectations? And then next year you can go into the offseason. You want to bring in a veteran. You want to draft a new guy for competition. This is his table because, maybe it's just nerves. I mean, literally, this is his first game outside of family night, which that doesn't really count because that's just a practice. Like this is going to be 2 games that he's going to probably play in, probably more. Yeah, right. Sorry, 3 games total. And
remember,
then
he was just bombing kicks at Lambeau a week ago at family night, and we were singing his praises
so
at this exact show.
There is like positivity to him. It's not like he's just been only misses since
not
July
at all.
27th.
I think the main point about him is we all see the potential. The guy's got a leg; he can bomb it from probably 70 yards if he really wanted to. But he's got to get the confidence first. And I think that this year, bring that back up. Let's try to see it.
Thank you, Todd.
Sanjay is right. There you go.
Thank you, Todd.
Soak it up.
I don't know.
I want him to work.
It's not like you have much investment on him, and unless you got someone out in the streets that you're like, okay. I mean, I know we do. I know there is someone out in the streets.
He's posting videos. He knows.
Yeah, I know. But at the same time,
Blood
it's
in the
like
water.
you washed. Okay, like you were trying to, wash your hands clean of everything old and expensive. And
I agree.
You tip the hat to those guys.
Turn the page.
Exactly.
I'm not saying this in the sense that like I don't think we should give him the shot. I do think there should be a shot. What I was saying is like if we go into week 1, week 2, and maybe week 3, and the guy is like that's 1 for 6. Okay, but like he's like 1 for 6. Like then it's like okay, maybe this is not gonna.
You know what?
If he's 4 for 6, they miss kicks, man. People miss kicks all the time. Like,
okay, you're on Team Josiah. I'm on Team Anders. We'll see who still lasts.
First of all, it's Anders. Second of all, you don't get to pick teams. You're not just picking teams right now.
It's one team. It's the Packers.
Who's your guy that I'm going to say that's fringe? It's him. It's Josiah that I don't want. Just
fringe.
Go with him. Okay, he's not fringe.
He's a starting fullback for the Packers. You watch your mouth.
You don't know that. There's that 6'9" guy. What's that guy's name? That's 6'9". He's like number 47. He might take his job.
He's 6'9"?
Yes.
Like LeBron James,
you because you're like 5'2".
I swear on everything.
Yeah,
Iowa Joe, look it up. There's that guy that's 6'9" and he's a fullback. Pretty sure.
There's no way, dude. There's no way he's 6'9".
Aaron Jones just jumps on his back and just
I say he's like.
Okay, maybe he's not 6'9", but he's pretty tall.
Yeah, no, of course he's not 6'9". He's tall. It's Caleb Jones.
Yeah, the left tackle. Right.
All right, let's move on here. Let's talk about what you wanted to go over though, Fred, and that's
Dalvin
this
Cook?
new look. Sure, fine. We'll say Dalvin Cook has signed 1-year deal with the New York Jets, as we probably already imagined. The guy was basically sleeping over for the last 3 days or whatever it was during the first week of training camp. So I think he was
nothing better than having 2 injury-prone running backs.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. What are they gonna do? Split the carries? I mean, I guess that's what they would do, but I mean, both of them are pretty injury-prone. But this is your guy. This is your favorite running back.
I was going to say the hardest part is I absolutely think Dalvin Cook is the best, one of the, if not the best running back in the NFL when healthy, of course.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's as the sort of quietly bitter ex-girlfriend sitting in the corner here. Yeah, I'm a little kind of pissy about it because I just think it kind of sucks, right? Kind of like, well, why didn't it ever happen when we wanted it to happen?
Yeah.
But in the same breath,
that's a Brian Gutekunst.
In the same breath, you get the stupid ESPN posts that are like, look at this offense. They've got Allen Lazard and Brees Hall.
Yeah, can we stop with that?
And Dalvin Cook, who's been hurt.
They didn't say that when we had Allen Lazard.
I know.
They have Randall Cobb, Allen Lazard. We had those, and no one said shit about our team.
I know. So when I see that, I'm like, okay, I get it, right? It's New York, it's the hype, but it's like let's just list that, right? Like Garrett Wilson, absolutely fantastic rookie year. It's historically sophomore slumps happen. It's not out of character to say that it couldn't happen again. He could be great again, but again, you're talking about Allen Lazard, Brees Hall coming off a big injury, Dalvin Cook being injured literally 4 of the last 5, I think, or 6 years. Right. I mean,
he's hurt every year.
It's just like come on, let's not act like it's any better than necessarily what Green Bay.
They have a pretty mediocre offensive line. Yeah,
I would really say this moves the needle as much as Zeke Elliott signing with the Patriots. Who cares?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's Austin Allen, 6'8", tight end.
You said fullback.
Sorry,
I can believe a 6'8" tight end.
All right,
my bad. I did think
someone. While we're at Iowa Joe, can you look up what the difference between a fullback and a tight end is for Sanjay?
Yeah, but technically Josiah was drafted as a tight end, so shut your mouth. And he played tight end in college. He played tight end in college. Cincinnati Bearcats called him a tight end.
H-back.
Shut up. Anyway, he was listed as a tight end last year. Thank you.
Okay. Anyway. What we're going to talk about LaFleur's offense.
So, yeah, let's talk about LaFleur's offense because it is a different look, and we'll talk about our studs and duds of Cincinnati's game kind of within this conversation, but basically, let's start with the quarterbacks with this offense, because LaFleur obviously wanted to have an offense that he could basically be in the ear of the quarterback and play the style that he wants. I know there was a lot of catering with Rodgers, what he kind of had from the old system to the new system. And then there's a lot of whatever was at the manipulation of the, audibly and checking out of whatever. I don't know what was going on in the last 3 years with Rodgers and that, but clearly something was different all the time, because LaFleur always had a weird look on his face, or Rodgers always had to have some sort of like stupid, dramatic face too. We called that blah, 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 blah. With this now, you have a really raw quarterback that's basically just saying, okay, sure. Yes, sir. No, sir. Sure. Yeah. Like, it's basically whatever he needs is going to be called on that field. And I think that's a kind of a breath of fresh air. And I guess this is a real test, of Matt LaFleur's coaching ability to see if this is truly his gig, because if this guy's supposed to be this, offensive guru / quarterback guru, and he's going to, put this new offense that, has been making waves all across the NFL with other coaches, this is truly it. It's now, hey, you don't have an MVP quarterback doing it for you. Now it's, you have this raw, lots of talent, but does he actually have it kind of guy with you?
Yeah, but you get 4 years. You get 4 years of his system already being implemented within this organization, which I think is a big part, right? And I think that's a huge asset in the situation. I also would say, I mean, hats off to what LaFleur did, right? Like, let's be realistic. We'll never quite know all the ins and outs of what was going on when Rodgers was there. We hear tidbits. We hear about
there'll be a 30 for 30
rooms
on it.
Yeah, people talking about how they brought in different packages and ideas, and Rodgers would shut them down. I think LaFleur handled it like an absolute class act. I think he did everything he could to sort of implement his offense with wrinkles in it, but to cater around Aaron Rodgers. So I would think that he's probably like pretty freaking excited about the fact that he has this offense to get to run now. That being said,
basically.
Control. Yeah, I guess that's a better word. But, I think Jordan Love buys into it. I think the rest of the team clearly buys into it. And I think what we got to see a little bit was, things that we got little wrinkles of throughout the last few years, like with Swerve and Irvin was around. We saw some motion. Remember, we talked about that for years, like during those 13-3 seasons, the motion being so important. When we were running motion, it was a big deal. We have kind of all of the weapons now, right? I feel like the team is assembled exactly like they wanted it to be. And maybe it took a year or two to get there, but I think it's finally there with guys like, unfortunately for you, Sanjay, Josiah, with a guy like a Musgrave who can stretch the field, with a guy like a Kraft who can be more of an underside guy, a Jaden Reed who's a pure speedster over the middle of cross patterns, coming back around, Watson stretching the offense, all that stuff that most of us already know. So I'm just going to keep repeating it. But I think what we're going to see is the offense that I've always expected. I think we've all kind of expected, but also the offense that we've gotten to see glimmers of with like the Rams and the Niners and all these other successful teams, which is what gives me the confidence in feeling like, yes, we have a new quarterback, but this team is not new at all. This team is 4 years deep. So like, buckle up. Don't think that this is just like we always talk about, well, we don't have any expectations. So Anders Carlson doesn't, and I'm not bumming on you guys, but like, I don't believe that. I believe very much so that the expectations are absolutely playoffs, and there's no reason we couldn't shock the world.
I agree with all of it. I mean, I think that to both of your points, that I think the offense is finally going to be actualized to what Matt LaFleur's vision was, and I think that it was held back because of Aaron Rodgers, who didn't like the motion aspect of it, and that's a massive, massive part of this entire system. If it's absent, you're not really running it then, right? You're not doing it. But I don't know about you guys, but after this preseason game and watching some of these potential offensive contributors, my ears perked up for particularly next year. When you get all these dudes a full season in the system, getting acclimated, maybe they pull off some wins and they sneak into the playoffs. But all of a sudden, I'm like, hey, if Jordan Love starts to pan out, they got some real movers on this offense. And when I thought about it a couple of years ago, when I was looking at the offense and in particular the wide receivers and how dissatisfied I was, I felt like they had like 3 or 4 of the same player, like EQ, MVS, Lazard, big, tall guys that are, some speedy, some, but, possession guys, not guys that are, gadget guys, etc. I feel like the Packers have a bunch of different type
Yes.
of guys.
Yes,
Like
they
you got
do.
Jaden Reed's one guy, Christian Watson's one guy, Dobbs is one guy, Musgrave is one. They all have something that they kind of bring to the table, and that gets me really excited. So I'm hoping that as preseason progresses here and we get into the season, we start to see unfold some of these guys stepping up and maturing. This team could explode sooner than later. It's all got to pan out. People got to stay healthy, but there is potential there, and I'm starting to see it a lot.
And the crazy thing is, if you
6
saw
to midnight, Joe.
the crazy thing was just like how wide open people were.
Yes.
And that's just with Jordan Love, like in the baby phase of this journey, because we haven't seen him be unleashed totally yet. Even on the deep bomb to Watson, I know there's some, critics about like how Watson ran that route, or maybe how, underthrown the ball was potentially, but like that was a good play also by the safety coming over the top. But
Yes,
I do think there's that ability too. Like I truly believe on a given day, no one's going to catch up to Christian Watson. If he actually has the step, which is basically half a step or maybe a full step, past someone, no one's catching up to him. That first play last year with, the Vikings, I truly believe that if they could have just, basically if they could have done that more often, I know they did in that Dallas game, which was awesome. I wish they could have done it even more, but that guy is so electric, and that's just one cog in the, in this entire thing. That Romeo Dobbs has another different level. Obviously, we just saw some acrobatic stuff from Jaden Reed, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And Musgrave has some speed, and that's awesome. I wish the camera view was a lot better with the programming, because I didn't get to truly see the route running aspect of the game. But obviously, if you watch the all 22 or whatever they do, maybe you can see that a little bit better. But yes, there's a lot of optimism. Fred, your thoughts though on the quarterback position though, because obviously that, and we'll just say real quick, the studs, at least on offense, because we'll move to the defense eventually. We have a guy like Jaden Reed that had some, big flashes. We had Malik Heath. I know that's someone you want to talk about, so I'll let you go ahead and do that. But yeah, and then obviously Sean Clifford, because that's why I want to start with the quarterback is. And by the way, and we're not going to do this, there is no competition. Can we just stop? Yes. Did Sean Clifford have a really nice night? Yes. Did he make some bad throws? Yes. But there is no competition as far as that is concerned. We just probably have a really nice, solid backup, probably in backup standards. He probably could come in and run the offense in a nice way if he had to. Go ahead, Fred.
So you would say that was a good draft pick?
I never said it was a bad one.
You said that, but I think you said, but did you ever think that anyone else thought it was a good pick? Like, did you like?
I'll eat the crow. I'll eat it. I'll eat it. I didn't like it.
I did. I thought there was other quarterbacks I would have rather had, but yes, I will eat that crow in that sense. I think
I 100% love the Sean Clifford pick, and I think that I feel like I was the only person in the world who loved it at the time. But here's
you are
my
the
thing
only
about
person. Oh, you
Wait.
just have to quit me.
I'm good. I'm good.
This is what you do all the time.
I love
you
the pick.
only
It was
want
a
to
great
throw me
pick.
under the bus, even though Matthew probably said something even more.
I didn't. Clearly not.
Well, yeah, he just didn't have the time.
I watched the whole clip.
It's just always convenient.
No, I watched the whole clip.
Listen, you want to go find.
Hey, listen, I watched the whole clip.
Did you go back? No. Did you go back to April? Did you go back to April?
I watched the whole clip, and like Matthew
what
Jensen
video
fashion,
is this?
Like Matthew Jensen fashion, he just sat down there quietly, didn't say anything.
Is this
I'll let you two duke it out.
Is this the post-draft show? Because that didn't look like the post-draft show.
Post-draft. I 100% love the Sean Clifford pick, and I think that I feel like I was the only person in the world who loved it at the time. But here's my thing about.
We didn't see the reaction from Matt though, because he probably was like, he didn't say anything.
I admitted it. I didn't like it.
Hey, when it's off season when Fred's wearing flannels, like that's when.
Oh yeah, look how pale I was. It was April. It was freezing. It was snowing still.
Yep. You know what? All right. Kudos to you for finding the clip. I knew you were going to do that. Let's find the clip on Carrington Valentine. Thank you.
I got it. Don't worry. I got you. I got you. I got you.
Or you have to do it now, but yeah, go ahead.
But no, so here's what's one thing I want to touch on really quick about the offense as well. And I know we kind of went through it, but I just want to say one other thing. There's so many weapons and so many versatile players. And I think what we're going to get to see is just this opportunity for us to completely control games. Very San Francisco-like. I know I bring up San Francisco all the time. I'm sorry, but in the sense of We have such a good offensive line, a good running game. We have the ability for Jordan Love to dink and dive, right? That's something that Aaron Rodgers used to do, never did really in the later part of his career. And dink and dive in the sense of like coming over. What are you laughing about?
Go on.
I don't even know.
I don't know. The die portion is I want that more clear.
Well, okay, I get that. But
So-
anyway, the thought process of like picking up 3, picking up 4, picking up 5,
Yeah.
not always going deep. But the beautiful part of it is what you were saying is with Watson is that we have that threat. So defenses have to respect that while also being able to just let up the 3, 4, 5 yards underneath plays all day long. And so we just chunk our way downfield, wear out defenses, let our defense rest, which is something that I've said for the last 4 years is like the reason why I feel like our team was always in a losing situation for the most part was because we would put our defense out there for a 9-minute drive. They'd come off the field. Aaron Rodgers go 1, 2, 3, toss 140 yards, and it'd be incomplete. Defense back on the field, and it just was so hard on them. So anyway, I'm excited about that whole aspect of it. As far as Clifford, he's just a grinder baller guy, right? I mean, that's what I said in the pre-draft. I emphasized more, and I'll take this one. I emphasized more in the pre-draft that I thought he was going to be more beneficial as a quarterback room guy than he was on the field. So I stand corrected because I think what he showed out there was a lot of tenacity, a lot of grit. And I know a lot of people want to start throwing around number 4's name, right? Like very Farvey, very blah blah blah.
Guilty.
Which oh, you were really?
Oh God!
I
can you just get over that? That guy should be in jail. Can we just get over Favre? I'm tired
Oh
of.
my God. Okay,
You
first of
know,
all, watch your mouth.
Yeah, watch your mouth.
Watch your mouth.
I'm not gonna
Watch your
watch my
mouth.
mouth. I'm not.
Listen,
Watch your
you know
mouth.
what? You're going to jail. If anyone's going to jail in this freaking place, it's you, Sanjay. Unbelievable.
Fine.
Go to jail. Brought a Super Bowl after 30 years. You
All
son of a
right.
bitch.
Well, you guys are already
Anyway.
crapping on Rodgers. He got us one too. So
I'll
we're
explain.
Wow.
in.
Okay, but at least Brett was.
Nope.
Okay. Anyway,
God.
here's the thing: is that Clifford though? So I thought it was going to be more of a locker room presence. I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to bring that on the field, which I feel kind of dumb thinking that now because I mean I said it at the post draft. He's a 4-year starter. He's a 4-year starter at Penn State. Your comment to that, Sanjay, was, well, Penn State's not very good. Well, okay, but it's
They're
still
not.
a huge Big Ten
They're not.
school. Okay, but it's still a Big
So is
Ten
the-
school. That you
No,
have to-
so is Nebraska, and so is Maryland, and they're dog crap. So I mean, what are we doing here? Rutgers is a
okay,
big
but
Ten
like
school.
Maryland.
if I go up to
They're in the
someone
Big Ten.
who watch. If I go up to someone who watches football and I talk about Penn State or I talk about Maryland,
Yeah, Penn
Rutgers,
State doesn't
I
have
think we're
that
gonna
name
get-
anymore, though. I don't
okay,
know
that's
if they
because Joe Pod messed that one up a little bit.
a
But
little bit.
bottom line, 4-year starter, 4-year captain,
right,
beat
you're
out
right.
Will Levis. I mean, he clearly has some gifts and talents. So I think the biggest thing we can all take from it, and I think you even just admitted it, was a viable backup, right?
Yes.
We did not have
Yeah.
a viable backup. We had no idea. We were talking about, do we go out and get a, Teddy Bridgewater, pre-Teddy Bridgewater signing, Ryan Fitzpatrick, some veteran guy to just come in and be some presence. I don't think you have to. And I think it speaks loudly to go all the way back to Anders Carlson. The thought process of this team is we are going to get young, stay young, and remain young. And we're not going to go after old guys to bring them into put Band-Aid situations. We're going to let this team grow. And I respect not only LaFleur for that, but Goody the most to say, hey,
Clip that,
this
because
is
if he
our
goes
chance.
1 for 6 on field goals, then I'm going to remember this moment.
I'm not saying I'm not agreeing with the Carlson thing. I'm just saying I think that's their approach this year.
Yes,
We're not going to overreact. We're not
No.
going to freak out and put Band-Aid things on. We're going to let this team grow and build.
And
So that, like Matt said, I think next year, listen, I think this year's going to be better than what we expect. But I think next year, you might be looking at a literal contender. And that's crazy, I know, but it could be true.
Matt, so it's going to be talked about. Someone's going to message it, but like, obviously, Coward had his comments today about Jordan
Oh my
Love being
gosh.
basically. I know. You said you don't.
And
mind,
I like Coward.
Yeah,
and I'm the
right.
one who always defends Coward. And
Right.
I watched that today and I thought,
but it's
what are
not
you
even about
talking
his
about?
comment, but like it's just about this game manager title.
Yes.
Because if you think about it, isn't Aaron Rodgers technically game managing him in a way that
every quarterback is
Right.
a game manager.
but because he didn't make any wow throws, that's what makes Jordan Love not it. That's why I don't understand this whole situation. You want a couple throws, and that's going to make you think that this guy's like a Hall of Famer or a guy that's going to be a contender. Go ahead. Yep.
There was another guy that played for the Packers for the last 18 years who, in the last maybe 5 or 6 years, rarely made large, intense throws or risky throws because he was too worried about his TD to interception ratio.
Yes. Aaron Rodgers, I mean, honestly, his like average stat line the last 5 years was like, 18 for 26, 258 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Like that's what he did. Like he wasn't like out there throwing for 450 yards and 4 touchdowns. Like there's no way that was happening. But Colin Cowherd's comment, it's like he wants Jordan Love to be bad. He does not want him to be good.
I mean, I know it's clickbait, but like it's just I
just want two series. Relax.
It's more of just addressing the name game manager, because if you think about it, if I had Alex Smith, if Jordan Love was Alex Smith, and then we had a solid defense, if that can take you to the Super Bowl, which Alex Smith did take you to, one. Well, technically no, he didn't. Technically, no, he did, because he got hurt, and that's when
Jimmy Garoppolo is a game manager. And look at what
Jimmy
got.
They used that phrase detrimentally towards some people. So, Jordan Love's a game manager, so he's a piece of shit and doesn't play very well. But Brock Purdy, he game managed his ass all the way to the NFC Championship game. They had no problem with that. Him doing that work. So they selectively apply when it's a good thing to certain people. It's ridiculous.
Every quarterback on the 49ers for the last 8 years has been a game manager. And they've been extremely successful, and nobody's calling them game managers. They're all over their slobbing.
This offense doesn't dictate you to be this gunslinging guy. Like if you think about it, Patrick Mahomes is running the game plan. Does he do some out of the box things himself? Yes, he does, and that's what separates him, and that's why he is the best quarterback in the league. But we're not expecting him to be the best quarterback in the league right now.
And I wouldn't be surprised if mid-season we start seeing Love make some of those throws.
True.
He's coming. This is his first year. Now, granted, I'm also the same person who says it's not his first year. It's his 4th year, 5th year. But this is his first year on consecutive starts. That's going to happen. He's not going to go out there and chuck the ball around like a buffoon. He's going to make good throws, feel confident, get that looseness. I'm sure it's what LaFleur is preaching to him, I would think. And then we open up. Right? We're also not going to come out in preseason and go, hey, we're going to show them everything we got in the playbook. I want you to chuck a couple bombs. No, we're going to run dinks and dives, and we're going to be done with it.
That's why I really hope that based on this schedule that we kind of shock the world a little bit with more so the predictions that you guys had. I know I was giving the realistic ones that are probably going to happen, but if they
are the realistic ones. So. I think the Saints. I think that first.
I hope he shocks the world.
I think if the Saints are like 2-0 and maybe we're 2-0, and because if we go 2-0, everyone's going to go, we're not playing that good at teams, blah, 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 which is probably fair. But
which is stupid because they believe in the Bears now, because apparently Justin Fields is he's a MVP candidate.
The savior.
Now, so.
Yeah. But if we're 2-0 and the Saints are 2-0 and they come in and first home opener and Jordan Love can play a game, I think he can shut up critics then.
Yes,
some quick comment on Sean Clifford. I wanted to say, clarify my Favre-ish comment. Like when we all watch new quarterbacks, I feel like my gauge, after watching Favre and Rodgers for so many years, are you fearless? Are you willing to attack down the field? Are you willing to try to make the throw?
I knew what you were trying to say, because he did come back after a bad pick, and then he had no fear. You're right.
Which is the most condemnable thing.
It didn't rattle him.
Exactly.
The interception didn't rattle him.
So many of these QBs get in the game and all they do is check down, check. They never try to move the ball down the field. Not in the case of Sean Clifford. So I got to give him that. And that's why I made the comment.
I do also think, go ahead.
No, I think you're absolutely right with that, Matt. So I didn't get to watch the game live as it was happening. I watched it recorded. And so it was interesting because, which is a very weird way to do it. Don't do it if I can ever tell you guys.
I was gonna say, now I feel bad because we were both just
no. I was following along with Twitter. I was following on Twitter. I was in it. I just wasn't visually watching it. But when you see Twitter and you hear you get done with it and it's all about Clifford, it's all about Valentine, and so then when you actually watch it, you're like, well, I'm gonna really watch these guys, right? I might not have paid as much attention to the intricacies of their plays, but you're right. When I saw the interception throw, I thought to myself, everybody was saying he was really good. Does this happen post-interception? And it was post-interception. And I think that spoke volumes of kind of who he was and who he is and what he can do. And I think, again, to come back to full circle, I think it's a comforting feeling knowing that he's behind Jordan Love, because I feel like if Jordan Love did go down, and this was a comment, not to bust you again here, Sanjay, the comment that you had past that clip that I didn't keep in there was, Well, that's great if he's a locker room guy, but what happens if he has to actually throw passes? And
That's true.
I think he.
Hey, I'm glad I'm wrong about that. I am.
And I'm not busting.
Yeah,
No, I'm not trying to bust you on it. I think it just makes a point
as long
that
as Matt's in the same party as me.
I think we're.
I've
Actually
admitted
good.
it. I've
You have a
admitted it.
guy.
I said I flamed it.
Hey, but you know what? Because he did actually throw 2 picks, and one was early and one was
Right.
late. So, and
Yeah,
the
well,
fact
that's
that he
not
did
good.
come back after both of them. I mean, the pick 6 is the hardest one because you
Sure.
did. I mean, that one was worse of a pick because the second one, it was kind of like, okay, he just like
Yeah.
muscled his way through that interception on Tucker Kraft. But the what?
Okay, as long as it's Miracle Whip, I don't. I'm
out.
Hold on.
I'm
What's
gonna
the
have to
picture
end
here?
this show.
What's the picture
spoon
here?
feed mayonnaise? Are we? This is a family friendly show.
Is that a girl
looks-
with Danny DeVito's head?
Yeah, it definitely is.
I
That's
think
the-
so.
Okay, this person's out. See you
Yeah.
later.
I mean, whatever. So I do think that there is a lot of positive to take out of Sean Clifford. I really do think when you've seen it all in college and then you come into the the bright lights of the NFL, sometimes young rookies get kind of overwhelmed with that, especially if they don't have any really expectation. And that's the awesome part too, is that he's not expected to be the starter, so he can rip it a little bit more, and he's not afraid to do that. So that was a nice thing to see as well. So let's move on to Jaden Reed.
Oof.
This guy, Matt, I mean, you've been wanting that wide receiver. He wasn't technically, well, yeah, I mean, he wasn't the first rounder that you've always wanted, that you've been banging at the door for, but the guy still has that it. And I think you saw that one acrobatic catch that he had. And then honestly, he should have probably had that touchdown that got, he was getting his entire left arm kind of held, and he still had a chance at it. But what is happening right now?
This guy's coming out of left field. What is going on?
Who is this?
I don't know. He's blocked.
Creative, very creative.
Go home, Mike.
This guy
Go
might
get
be
some
like-
rest.
Make a new profile. Come back, control us
You're
later.
tired. Go get some sleep, Mike.
Jesus. All right. Anyway, I
Yeah.
do think with Jaden Reed, though, it is nice that they're trying a lot with him in the game. It's not just a hey, we're just gonna do slot, okay, quick slants, maybe some out route. Like, they're trying a lot of different things. Send them deep, have the end around, have them, do some, underneath stuff, which is good. But I do think this guy actually could be utilized in a way that we haven't seen in a while. And like you said before, Matt, I think last week, you're hoping that he could be that Deebo Samuel-like kind of guy. It could be that. What? That was it. Is that you, really?
I said it. and
Sorry.
stole it from
But
Matt.
I said it wasn't Deebo because technically Deebo's kind of
Yeah. No, but
Yeah,
you're
go
right.
ahead.
Me and Matt were thinking the same thing.
Well, and Jaden Reed, in the little time we've seen him on the field, it feels like he plays bigger than he is. Like he
Yes.
goes up to get the ball, he high points it. He's a hands catcher.
Yeah, it's
I
like
don't see a lot of
5'9" or whatever he is, 5'10".
Yeah.
It doesn't bother him. He's like, I can
No.
still act like I'm 6'3" here,
Absolutely. He gets up and goes and gets it, and he's got some wiggle and some scoot to him. So I feel like the Packers are really going to utilize him. I loved Randall Cobb. I think just based on what
I don't
I'm seeing
think it's
with
2.0.
Reed,
I don't think Cobb was ever
I think he's
good.
going to be better than Cobb.
Yeah,
I think
I
he's
don't
going to
think Cobb
offer
was
more.
ever that fast.
So, and as to my point earlier about how we have revamped the entire offensive, well, at least the receiver room, and he's just kind of his own skill set. So if he's going to be one of 3 guys in the field, like moving him around into the backfield, out of the backfield, like I feel like their creativity in terms of what they could do with him, with the other person on the field, they could get really intense with highlighting what he can do. So I might be more excited for him than anybody else going forward this year. Super excited to watch him.
Yeah, he's electric. He's definitely someone that I key in on, and I focused pretty much the entire time I was watching the offense. I wasn't even watching Love, really. I wasn't watching a lot of guys. I was really focused on Reed because I just think it's the first time that I feel like we genuinely have just that absolute electric player. I never felt it with Amari Rodgers. Cobb, I don't know if it was you, Sanjay, who said that, after that first kickoff return, it was like he never was that fast ever again. They've had some guys that come in, but
Still a great player. I'm not going to disrespect
absolutely,
Cobb,
I'm
but
not discrediting,
Great
but
pass.
I do think that just Reed is he's just a different speed. He's a different, skill set. And to your point, and I think someone brought it up post draft. I don't think it was one of us. I think it was somebody in the field, but they talked about his ability to go up, and he's a hands up in the air catcher.
Yeah.
And that's unique for somebody his size.
Well, can we take a moment and
go ahead.
I just want to say, appreciate the speed that we now have on this
Yeah.
offensive side, and
This
just think
team,
a couple years
this
ago,
team
absolutely the whole
in
team in
general.
general. I mean, a couple years ago, we're trotting out, Mercedes Lewis and Bob Tunyon and
Lazard and
exactly. But now it's a bunch of guys who have some legitimate scary speed, and how far they've come from where they were, it's great.
and it kind of feels like we're in with the new ages, right? Like we're not not behind where we've always talked about as an organization. We always feel like we're like such old school people about stuff, and it doesn't feel that way.
Catching up now.
We got the young, fun coach. We got speedy guys. I mean, it just feels different. It feels like
totally different.
We're finally willing to like accept that we're not gonna be the '60s and the '90s Packers. We got to go and be the 2020 Packers.
We got to be something new.
You have to be. This league is changing always. So let's move to the defensive side while we have a few minutes left. Some really high stock moving up on Carrington Valentine. I think
your boy.
First off, I'm just gonna say this right now. How confusing is it when you have a Valentine and a Valentine?
So much.
What is that? Cut this guy. Cut him. I don't want
Valentine got hurt. I thought it was Valentine.
Yeah, I know. No, exactly. I'm always like, geez, man. Or if anything, put him on the opposite side of the ball. Like, okay, that guy's strictly special teams or offense only, and then Carrington Valentine, I know is always gonna be that. That was a little confusing. Damn you, Brian Gutekunst, doing that. Yeah, that's a little rude. So, but what a night for the kid. I mean, it was press coverage.
You want your moment here?
Go ahead.
Carrington Valentine III.
My guy.
That's your guy.
My guy. There is my.
I do love him.
This guy is a dog. Yeah, he is a dog, and that right there, getting up and which is a huge testament to Joe Barry that maybe he is answering to his.
Hold on. Settle down.
No, I'm just saying early nod to Joe Barry that he's allowing these guys to play up. I mean,
I agree with that.
If Eric Stokes is not going to be back right away, or if Ja is even hurt, I mean, this guy is going to play at least some sort of considerable snaps. And the fact that he's not afraid, again, I know it's second string guys on the Bengals, but I guess he was doing it against Jamar Chase in practice.
Yeah.
So that to me is already saying, look, I don't give a F who you are in front of me. I'm still going to play how I play, which is that dog mentality, and I'm going to go after it. And he had no problem. Now, there was a pretty blatant pass interference that probably should have been called, the one that he's like, basically groping him on the back. That one is probably pass interference, but the rest of the night was pretty good. And that interception, really good hand-eye coordination there. And to be able to grab that ball, and then obviously right after we just threw a bad pick, it's nice just to see a guy be a playmaker out there. Also, basically upending a guy that's trying to hurdle him. He's like, no, sorry, sir. I'm not going to put you over here. And to be honest with you, if that's our fourth guy, like they were mentioning in the broadcast, that's a really good problem to have. And honestly, you don't know what Eric Stokes is going to be like coming back. I mean, I hope he comes back as a baller like he was in his rookie year. But you don't know. You really don't know how he's going to come back on an ACL injury. But go ahead, Matt.
But to have him and Stokes rotate to help.
And then and not to mention Razul. I mean, that's a good three right there.
The Stokes unknown is huge because having somebody else start to come up now and take the reins and show some promise. I mean, we've been kind of waiting for like Shamar Jean-Charles to do it. We've been waiting for, maybe Rudy Ford to come up and do something, or, somebody else. But for Valentine to come in here, play his game, be unapologetic about it, and show it not only against in the joint practices, but then to back it up and do it in the game on a field. Just why, even if it's against backups, it's still really impressive. And to me, I think he's a lock for the roster, and I think he's going to be locked. That could see some decent playing time, particularly if Stokes is delayed getting back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess my only critical thought process, I guess here maybe was. No, and I'm just doing.
No, I was saying there you go for the right word choice. I was saying.
Oh,
thank you. Work through it.
I was like, you were working through it.
Guys.
Glad you got there.
Thoughts and prayers, T's and P's, baby. Was just every time I felt like I saw him, he was lined up against like some white receiver from Western Kentucky, so it kind of felt like okay. That was my one thing. My second thing was, and this is probably not a big deal, but I've always been a firm believer that, guys play up when they're playing in their hometown. He's from Cincinnati.
Clifford.
There may be a little something there. I don't know.
Juice. You're right.
But that being said, I was a big fan of his coming out of college. He's shown it in practices. He put it in his first game. I am excited to see what happens this next week. I think if he can back it up again and have a decent game, then I think it solidifies that he's a real deal guy.
Other guys that shined, Colby Wooden. This guy
Yep.
can get to the quarterback.
We didn't spend a lot of time talking about him, so I'm glad his name popped up in this game.
When you're watching the game, you're not really looking at in the trenches as much because it's so fast. You're just watching where the ball's going. You're not really seeing what's happening, on the line of scrimmage. But
we talked about it a little bit in the post draft thing. Like he has that ability. He has the ability to get to the quarterback. He's a strong guy. I'll say on the flip side of that, somebody that I was not that impressed with, and I think reminds me a lot of a first year Rashawn Gary, is Luke Van Ness. And I felt like he really just wanted to rely on speed and bull rush. And it showed that he does not have a very good.
I'm nervous about
that. With his skill move tree, which is exactly what Rashawn Gary was. Rashawn Gary was the same way. Rashawn Gary had very limited skill moves. He relied a lot on bull rush. He was double teamed, things like that.
That's why you have a Preston, though, right? Like that's why Preston can teach
100%. So I'm not by any means ruling him out as a good player. Right. I'm just saying what I saw in the preseason game felt very juvenile to what I think he could be. But I think if you give him a year, right, you kind of give him like Rashawn Gary, we took super early. Remember how we just never saw him the first year? It was like a couple snaps here, a couple snaps. They played it perfectly. They played him perfectly. And I think they have the same luxury, absolutely same luxury now because they have Gary and Preston, that they can allow this to be something where we look at Van Ness and Gary for the next 7 to 8 years being an absolute dynamic duo.
I agree that Van Ness is going to just be a slow burn in terms of bringing him along. I tried to make a point when the game started, and we sort of exchanged some text about it. The few that I saw, like he was getting some push, but the play was going the other way. And I don't know how many series he ended up playing. I don't think he played a lot. So I'm also curious to see when we get to the regular season, if they'll and Gary's playing, if they'll do a combo like how they had Gary, Z, and P out there for a while, if they would do something similar, or they maybe move Van Ness like inside to utilize his strength.
I'm sure they will.
The pocket. Yeah.
That one big run by them, that was like a 35-yard run or whatever it was. That was a Van Ness problem because he went too far inside. He didn't contain on the outside on the running lane. So that does,
and he'll learn that. I mean,
exactly.
That's a rookie mistake 100%. But there just felt like watching him, like
I do get nervous
playing in a league beyond.
I think as a Packer fan, you just want some time for the first round pick to show up and just be a first round pick and just immediately just be good.
But that's what I'm saying. I do get nervous when we try to draft all these guys that are just pure athletes. They have these awesome scores in the combine. It's like, okay, but did he actually have good stuff on tape? Because this guy didn't have a lot of tape because he didn't. The stupid senior rule in Iowa.
Was second team Big
Ten.
A
ton.
You're right. I know.
You weren't even first team.
Yeah.
You weren't even first team Big Ten, and you were taking 13.
I know.
It's a big thing.
That's to me. I'm sorry. I know it sounds kind of immature as well, but like, when you hear that, you're like, okay.
The Packers, they drafted on the potential.
But to go back to what I was saying before, this team seems to have some patience.
They do.
Understanding
they really do.
that this is a process. We're going to get through it. We're going to go through this year and expect greater things next year. And I think should be somewhat of a refreshing, welcoming.
Is there a team in the NFL that believes more in delayed gratification than the Packers? I mean, I feel like they take so many people like, oh, well, in 2 or 3 years, once they've gone through our rigorous coaching, we're going to be fucking great.
To the point where half of those year 2, 3 guys for one guy.
To the point where, when we draft guys, I'm like, man, 3 years.
Maybe
Carrots.
3 years, he's going to be great.
Hey, real quick shout out because we're on the edge, guys. Brenton Cox, man, I really hope, especially with the maturing of Van Ness. Here's another guy with Enikbari that you could easily just groom on the practice squad if it doesn't mean him being on the full 52-man roster. But he had the big tip that caused the Levitt interception.
He's talented.
Yes, he is, man. I really hope he pans out because I would be one of the first to get his jerseys because he is really fast. He is a stud, and he's very.
You want to talk about a legit dog? That is a full-fledged dog.
We need more dogs on defense.
Yeah, but I have to rant though. Because shame on Brian Gutekunst, because I am starting to get worried though, because yes, as much as Friday was a nice, victory.
Is his audio going out or is it me?
Yeah. What's happening here?
What's going on?
You guys good? Can you hear me? I think all the audio is going delayed.
Nope, I'm good.
or it's
I
like
can
cutting
hear
in
you.
and out.
Oh,
Nope,
it's just you on those Apple earphones.
Check your internet, bro.
No, we're good. We're good. It must have been just me. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Forget
no,
about
you're
me.
good.
He was about to
No,
do
you're
something
good.
so intense there.
I wasn't,
blew it.
But shame on the Green Bay Packers for not addressing the safety position, because I'm getting really nervous. And I don't know what Savage is because he's so inconsistent. But Jonathan Owens, I don't know.
Nah, he ain't it.
He ain't it, and I don't know if they're gonna do something with Razul, if that means because now that Carrington Valentine is something,
Rudy
something,
Ford.
but like, and Rudy Ford, right? It's just really disappointing to know that they have really done nothing since they signed Adrian Amos, really, to make sure that we were okay, because eventually, yeah, Adrian Amos is going to get old and we're going to have to figure out. I mean, I know they tried Tariq Carpenter, but now he's a linebacker and he's a pretty small linebacker. Go ahead, Fred.
I agree. And it is the most glaring need on that defense. No doubt about it.
Yes.
My biggest question, and this is just me being whatever, is like, we're in a league without a lot of good safeties. Like, there's not real, and I get the Amos thing. I think maybe letting him walk was stupid. I get that part of it, but like,
for peanuts,
it's not really like, it's not like there's a ton of great. This isn't like the 90s football where there was like the Bob Sanders and the Ed Reeds and all these guys. Like, there's like maybe 3 really top tier safeties in the league left. So I understand to that point, but I do agree with you in the sense of like, if we just expect to throw out a Savage and a Rudy Ford and say, figure it out, there will be some payment there that we're going to have to check.
Either either corners have to shut down immediately in the first 15 yards, or it's going to be.
I agree with Sanjay. The Packers kind of feel like they've sort of just neglected that position. I know they had Savage and kind of had big hopes for him, and he didn't really go anywhere. And then Amos sort of just kind of plateaued, never got any better. But they kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sort of feels like the safety position is the running back position of the.
Yes, I was just gonna say that.
Just nobody gives a damn, and they figured, well, we can put anybody in there, and we'll do it.
I owed you for the Debo comp, so now you totally want it. I was literally gonna say, I was thinking in my mind, as soon as he's done talking, I'm fucking saying it, man, because it is that, because I do think, and I think it's legitimate thought process is the safety the position where people are like, I mean, we can kind of bare minimum is if we got decent corners, right? We got good pass rush, until you go against a team like Kansas City or something like that, or Cincinnati, then you might have to worry about it. But I mean, there's just, I don't know. I mean, it's weird. And it's ironic because those two teams have really good safeties. So like, that's a weird thought process, but no, I totally agree. I think the safety position across the board in the NFL, outside of a couple teams who've just obviously gotten, some studs. I just think it's kind of become that position.
Which is weird because it's not like a running back thing where it's like,
it's not
you'll get a fifth rounder and he'll
it's just the last guy back on defense. What do you
I would have a running back. I would have given my arm for having a good offensive line. What is back in the
back in the day, I would have given my arm for Cam Chancellor to be a Packer.
I know.
And that's not that long ago.
I don't know. I hope something happens. I don't even know what you can do in this situation because nobody's left. I know John Johnson just signed back with his old team in the Rams, but like there's just nobody out there like that's worth. I think
there's
got to
be.
They'll be watching cutdowns big time.
Cutdowns will be a big thing, but I also think there's maybe a transition right between, pushing cornerbacks into that safety position, right? Like it's not going to be guys maybe coming out as much as safeties as guys coming out as maybe oversized corners who can easily transition into that safety position, because the cornered position is just going to be more lucrative, especially for collegiate athletes. So I feel like that might be the push. And I think I think Rudy Ford had a great kind of push towards the end of the season there.
I do think
I cannot seem to disengage from Savage for some reason. I don't know what my deal is with that. I know I don't get it. Believe me.
I
know it more than anybody,
honestly.
But I think his athleticism could be so beneficial as like a roaming free safety. But I mean, obviously we've seen him not.
And by the way, the Lions look pretty great for drafting Brian Branch. Dude is knocking people's heads off in their preseason game. Yeah, I'm like, oh great, we passed on him.
Shout out to the one guy though, and we talk way too much about Iowa here, but the Cyclone, our 7th rounder, He actually had an okay name. I forget his name. Iowa Joe, help us out because this is your
Come on, Iowa
state.
Joe.
But yeah, I don't know what's the situation or the answer is at safety, but hopefully the Packers find it out come next week or in the week after that. I don't have anything else, guys, unless you do.
I got two things. One, going to practice on Thursday with the little guy. Didn't get to go last week, so we're going to go this week. So I'm super excited to kind of see that atmosphere.
Joint practice?
Joint practice with the Patriots.
Nice.
Big Bill.
Haven't gotten to see. I haven't been to a practice in a couple years, so I'm pretty excited about that. So if anyone's in the area, please stop by, say hi.
Choose wisely. Do you want to see the offense or do you want to see offense? Do you want to see receivers? Because receivers, you got to go all the way to the right. If you want to see full 11-on-11 action, you got to try to get the middle. And on the left, it's just dog crap.
I'm just gonna walk in,
offensive
flash the
line
ring,
work.
and see what happens.
It's like defense and
just gonna flash the ring and be like, "What's up?"
Yeah, let me in.
Ring. I just
let me in.
Let me in.
I just got the ring clean, so it should be nice and shiny and shouldn't be a big deal.
I would pay you $500 if you just walked up to the lady in the red vest that shuttles you to your seat. Hey, can you kiss the ring, please? Because I'm royalty.
You're not just gonna kiss her. I'm just gonna say, I don't need a shuttle, ma'am.
I know what I'm doing here.
Hey, yeah, it'll be fun. I hope the Patriots come in here nicely, I guess. I don't want to see any more fights. I mean, I know it's part of the training camp.
Do we get to see Zeke?
Yeah,
Zeke. Yeah, we'll get to see his like
see Zeke.
Sports bra kind of thing. Which, by the way, are we seeing this picture of Kyler Murray and this sports bra?
Yeah, he's cute.
Oh my gosh, that was interesting. Anyway, we'll be at the game. Are you gonna go, Matt? Are you going on Saturday?
I got tickets. Yeah.
All right. We'll
the whole Freezer podcast.
The Freezer podcast going.
Wait, you guys are going?
We're going.
Yeah.
Let's go. Okay. Let's go.
Well, it sounds like we'll be there early.
You know, we should like get together before the game.
I mean, that would just be logical, right?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Wow.
Hey, if you're
Pencil
going to
it
the
in,
game, come
pen it
join
in.
us. You're probably not going to find us because like 70,000 people, but you never know.
Just look for the ring. You'll see like some.
Yeah, it'll be glistening in the.
It's
Yeah,
not like you're like the Green Lantern and this huge thing of light of green.
Okay, Sanjay. The first time you saw the ring, you treated me like the Green Lantern. So
I did. I still do.
Hal Jordan, is that
and I'm
you?
pretty sure you thought that I could just walk in
on
and go.
his name. Put some respect on it. Thank you guys for joining us always on a Monday evening. We hope you guys enjoy the show. We hope you guys enjoy the Packers for the rest of the week and rest of your life, obviously. But enjoy the Patriots game come Saturday. Yeah, enjoy the Patriots game. Hopefully it's this nice sunny day because this rain can go away. And we'll catch you guys next week.
Hot as shit out, dude.
We're gonna have to figure out our fatness here. That's
with that being said, that's Matt down there. That's Fred to my left, and we'll see you next week. Go
Pack, go, baby.
Pack, go.
Go.